Welcome. I'm Dawn Garcia. I'm the director of the John S. Knight Journalism Fellowships here at Stanford. And joining me today is Alberto Mendoza, JSK Managing Director. Hi, Alberto.
Hey, Dawn.
So today is all about getting your questions answered and letting you know more about the fellowship program, getting concrete tips on how to do a great application, and to hear what we're seeking at JSK when we're thinking about great fellows. So if you have a passion for reimagining journalism, we want to help you be the best candidate possible. That helps us because we want to pick great people. And if you're here at this webinar or listening later and you're eligible, we encourage you to apply. Next step is a reminder about deadlines. As a good journalist, all journalists need good deadlines to be able to perform. So the international deadline is December 4th, 2024 at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And the US deadline is January 15th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And we do not accept late applications. So please don't wait till the last minute. Give yourself time to do your application well. Okay, I think we're ready for questions. Are we ready?
Yeah, we
they're
are.
already coming in. Ooh, they're coming in.
So thank you all for taking time to be here. A lot of the questions that may come in that are already answered in the website, we're going to refer you to the website. So we want to really focus this Q&A on the actual application, the experience, questions you may have about the project idea. So know that we're going to prioritize those questions and questions that are about the basic information that we provided. We'll just recommend you dive into that website. So, all right, Dawn. So the first one is, one of the questions in the application is about what project you would like to work on. Does this mean that you have to have a concrete project pitch to apply?
Okay, so sometimes the word project throws people because they think, oh, they get all worried about what it means. What we mean is, what do you want to explore? What burning question do you have that you want to explore? And we do want to know about that. You should have thought about it some. It shouldn't be something that you just kind of came to the day before you apply. Think about something that you care about in your journalism career. A burning challenge that you see you want to help solve. And so, yes, you do need to come with an idea, but it does not mean you have to have it all figured out. And in fact, if you did, you wouldn't need a fellowship.
Yeah, and it is a tricky line to balance, because sometimes people have an idea but also see the solution. And if you bake your answer into the solution, then again, it leaves us wondering why you need a fellowship as opposed to a grant that would just give you money to do that. The fellowship is to give you more opportunity to test this question. And often our fellows find that they were asking the wrong question, or after being here for 6 months, that they move in a different direction. So we want to see the concept idea developed, but we don't have to completely have it figured out.
I would just follow up on that, Alberto, to say that those of you who've been involved in journalism articles, journalism stories, where you're working on something and it's not working out, but something more important is, don't stick with a bad story idea. So if you come with an idea, it is possible to change it, which is unlike a grant. You could change it because of what you're being informed and experiencing here at Stanford with your cohort, with professors, and that's perfectly fine.
Great. All right. The next question is, how would we measure or describe a successful JSK experience?
Okay, I'm going to answer, and then I want to hear your answer, Alberto.
Okay.
So, a successful JSK experience is somebody who comes here open-minded, generous of spirit with their group, is taking advantage of everything that we have to offer and coming to all of our events and showing up, but also really being open to serendipity, which is a word I really love, and that is out on the campus, there are things that you're going to come across that you didn't even know you wanted to explore, and that may end up leading you in a really different, interesting direction and a conversation, and then maybe some exploration that does help your journalism career. So being present, being open, being collaborative, being flexible, and really seizing the opportunity to make something of it for you in journalism.
Yes, all of that. Plus, we don't expect you to actually have everything solved by the time that you leave. Really, the fellowship is year one of your relationship with JSK, and really, this is just getting you started. To me, a successful experience is almost everyone that we've had. Is that you leave much more informed. You have a new bag of resources with people with money that you can connect with. And you've been exposed to an environment that is magical, that doesn't think in the box, and you leave with that same kind of ability to look at problems and think of solutions. And so I think, yeah, it's just the start, which is really cool.
It doesn't start, and also one word that I hear fellows say, what did you get out of the fellowship? What was this? Is confidence. Confidence to know what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
Yeah. So the next question actually ties to the last one.
Okay.
But what are two surprises for fellows that when they start the program? What do you think?
One or two surprises. I think some fellows are pleasantly surprised with learning things they didn't know from other fellows, from what's journalism like around the world. If you have been many people maybe have covered things overseas or other countries, but just the mix is really a wonderful surprise. I'm going to think about another one while you think of one, Alberto.
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I enjoy the most, is it's very silly, but when I'm walking and I see a fellow on their bicycle driving and they just pass me, and just see their smiling face and they're going to class. It's this beautiful moment of seeing, giving yourself a chance to take a deep breath, to enjoy the bike ride, go to a class, kind of be in that moment in time where you didn't have all the crazy responsibilities that we tend to get as adults. And so just to see people really breathe, I think people undervalued how much that this experience allows them to just take a deep breath and enjoy life again in a different way.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Now, this is a good question about the program. Is the program intended solely for newsroom managers, co-founders, and entrepreneurs? Year after year, these roles dominate your cohorts. If so, why is it not explicitly stated in the application guidelines?
I think very clearly in our application guidelines and on their website is that we are seeking leaders and emerging leaders, people who are seeing themselves in a role of taking the initiative to make things better for journalism. Now, some of those are managers and founders, but not all of them. So a number of journalists that I have known over the years and coming through our program may not have thought of themselves as a leader because they didn't have a title. And in fact, when you start to say, well, what did you do in your last year? Oh, well, I, led this initiative in our newsroom and I mentored these people to be better. And you're thinking that is all leadership. And maybe it's not just the role, the title that you have, but you as an emerging leader. So we don't say you need to have a certain title, but you need to be thinking about taking the initiative to be a leader in journalism.
Yeah, and again, to your point, we are not saying leadership equals management. We are talking about leadership as it relates to action. And it's the action of taking something on, being innovative, pushing for something better or something new. That is across the board for all of our fellows every time we pick, because we are investing into your future so that we can change the industry. And if we don't pick the right people who want to do that, then we don't get that there. So it is short of a leadership program, it's a leadership program. All right. What characteristics make for an attractive and competitive application?
Okay. Help us see you as a fellow. Think about if we're reading your application, we can really get the energy and enthusiasm and excitement about you wanting to do this fellowship, that you've explained to us and given us some details and stories about why you want this and who you are and why you are taking the initiative in your area to make things better. An application also that is frankly not sloppy. You know, it's a real turnoff if there's misspellings and things aren't really put together well, because you want to focus on you and you want us to be able to see the best you. And one that is on time and get it in. I say also the selfie video, we have a 1-minute selfie video. We've had this for some years, and I know a number of journalists who are not used to being on, you know, in video, they're maybe creating video, get a little worried and nervous, but help us understand you in that 1 minute. It's a very casual thing. And just talk about why you want to do this and who you are. And so I think that would be another element to a great application. What else, Alberto?
Yes, I mentioned earlier, make sure you really maximize the opportunity you have to share your story. I know journalists don't like to brag, but this is a moment that we want you to help us see your wins and celebrate your wins. Just as it's important to acknowledge the vulnerabilities and the things that you want to benefit from and you want to learn. So if we could see applications that have really been thought through, and compared to the ones that are dashed at the last minute. Frankly, those just don't move that far because it looks like you did it at the last minute. This isn't a last minute kind of a decision. This is something that people should be considering and spend some time in it because it makes a difference.
I want to say one thing about that. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
You said that, it made me think about, so you and I had this conversation before about two things. Some people dashing off an application, which is, I don't know why they did that, but and think that it's going to make it. But also people really using the application as a way to, again, celebrate their wins, and that somehow we're not used to talking about ourselves, and we're used to writing about other people or videotaping and audio stories about other people. So this is about you. So one thing that I would suggest is making sure that you show this to a smart friend and say, am I coming through? Are my wins and my sense of empowerment and what I do in journalism, is that coming through? Because I will say a number of people have said, wait, you didn't talk about the time you did XYZ and then you helped this other person, you know, really, really solve this problem. Oh, right, I forgot about that. So that's another tip for helping do a great application.
Yeah, and I'll add the last one is that culturally, as a Latino man, I grew up with a mother and father that were saying, you don't talk about yourself, you don't brag, you let other people do that, but because it just rubs people the wrong way. Frankly, in this setting, we need you. We need you to really take up the space that is offered for you to celebrate what you've done. I've reviewed a couple of applications with the folks who applied in the past, and in going over that, they realized that they left a lot of opportunity to tell their story. And they thought that if they talked too much about themselves, it would look like they were bragging, or they, thought that short answers just meant that they were very focused, and it doesn't read that way. So just keep that in mind.
Right.
Okay. What resources will continue to remain available after the fellowship is over?
Okay. So as Alberto said, and I mentioned in my intro, this is our first year of an investment in you as a journalist, as a fellow, and as a person. And so after your fellowship year, you're joining a big community, a big network of fellows around the world. That we have virtual events, we have in-person events, we have a monthly newsletter online, and you have the directors here also who have been your coaches and your mentors to bounce things off of. Every week I'm having a conversation, a meeting, or writing a recommendation letter for someone for an opportunity. And so you have us as this your coaches for life. And then the community, which is really a beautiful thing. People have hired each other, people work together on projects, they have fun times together. So you're getting this community that lasts for life.
And we provide continuing education.
Right. That's right.
Sometimes fellows leave and 3 years later they're in a management role or 5 years later. So we continue to provide trainings that provide you with more skills so that in your current role, you're staying up to date. Next, I think on Friday, we have a training for our alumni on LinkedIn and improving your LinkedIn profiles. So we're constantly thinking about the ways that make you look the best in the industry and bringing to you those, really the entire rest of your fellowship. But also the fellowship classes remain very, very close. We had a class from 2 years ago that just had a reunion in Turkey because one of their fellows is in Turkey. So it's a really, year one is just the beginning. And I think that's the beautiful part. There is a question here about, again, how flexible are we with people changing their ideas, which we already talked about that we are very flexible. One of the things that we can also bring up now is to make sure that you know that you do not need a college degree. It is not a requirement. Also, you can apply again.
Yes,
That's
yes.
for you to apply. And other.
Can I say a little bit about that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, because that's a favorite of mine. So it is hard if you didn't get it the first time. I'm so sorry, and it's hard for us, but it's obviously more harder for you that you didn't get it. But every year, there is someone in the class who's in on their second application, and sometimes more than one person because there are only so many spots, and there's lots of great people. So we really encourage you to think about, if you're going to apply again, really think about your application and what has changed for you in the year since you applied in journalism, in your career, and your idea. And you could have a similar idea that you applied with, but don't just dust your application and send it in again, because we've already read your application once. We know what you wrote. And you also, if you got an interview, you could contact one of us to get advice about your second application.
This is an interesting question. If I had a specific project that I was looking at that was not specifically about a problem in journalism, but about a topic that needs coverage, does that apply?
The problem with a topic is like, okay, I'm going to write about poverty or homelessness or immigration or whatever. Those are topic areas, but we don't really know from that. What are you wanting to explore? What is the problem you see that you think needs a solution? So we would like you to think some more about what about that topic is of interest to you and needs work and your work. So not just topics. It should be an area that you want to explore, a question you want to answer.
Yeah. And there are other fellowships that allow for a project to be a book or a story or specific population. So it's just not the case with us. For us, it's a very intentional focus on systemic change and making sure that we connect you to all the resources at the university and that we provide to help you get there. So that's one big difference. Are applicants with disabilities encouraged to apply? And what accommodations can be made?
Yes, yes, please. We believe that the more diversity of the group, the richer the conversations, the richer the life experiences that you bring, that is important to who we are and what happens during the fellowship year. So we have had fellows with different disabilities over the years. We have there was a fellow a few years ago who had some disability issues, mobility issues. We were able to get him a cart to go around campus. We have had folks with visual disabilities, and we worked with them to make things work. Stanford has a disabilities office that we work with to help meet the needs of the particular fellow. So yes, please.
All right. Another question. I am interested in doing a photojournalism project collaboration with people overseas. Would I be able to travel occasionally overseas to meet with them during the fellowship term, or would I have to be done before or after?
Okay, there's kind of 3 questions there. Let me tackle them. So one of them about the fellowship year. So it's a residential fellowship, so we want you to be present during the times when we are having fellowship events, and also there's 3 quarters. So it's like a fall, winter, and a spring. We do have 7 weeks off during the year. I can't remember as a journalist when I ever got 7 weeks off. So it's 7 weeks off. It's a big break during the winter and one in the spring, and 2 in the spring and 1 in the fall. Anyway, so you have time off that you could do something if you wanted to go travel, but not during when we're having the sessions. We are very intentionally, and Alberto's in charge of our programming, working to get speakers and workshops and events. So we don't want you to miss, and you can't miss. So that's that. The question, if you're trying to do a photojournalism project with someone, it sounds a little like more like a reporting project. And if that's the case, that's really not what we're about. You could do that project on your own time. That would be fine, but that wouldn't be the best thing to apply for our fellowship. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm currently temporarily and temporarily living in the US. I'm a correspondent, but I am from abroad. Do I have to apply as an international journalist?
Okay, we have a really good little quiz that you can screening some screening questions to help us understand where it makes sense for you to apply as a US or an international applicant. So you just go through our application and then you can do that screening.
All right. I am interested in researching revenue models and the business side of journalism. I am eager to understand how to sustain the work of journalism, but most of my experience is on the editorial side. Does the fellowship allow space for the learning and researching that business and entrepreneurship?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a simple one.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Yeah.
So, Dawn, we're waiting for more and more questions to come through.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people get caught up with, oh gosh, last year they had someone from Colombia. That means there's not going to be someone from Colombia next year, or someone, 2 people from the East Coast. Does that mean that if I'm not from certain parts, do we have quotas?
No, we do not have quotas. It's a big world, so we aren't going to probably have fellows from a country 5 years in a row. But we don't have any quotas. We are looking at trying to spread the wealth around regionally. But we have had fellows from more than 80 countries over our years, and sometimes a country 2 years in a row, but sometimes not. So no quotas.
And yeah, it doesn't mean that if one person came from one place, there isn't a chance for another person to apply or be selected. So
right. No, exactly. Mm-hmm.
How does the JSK Fellowship distinguish itself from other journalism fellowships?
Well, we're the best, of course. Okay, that was my short answer. I think so. First of all, fellowships are good. I am a big fan of fellowships. I think there are many different kinds around the world, around the country, certainly. And they each have their own flavor and their own focus. So our fellowship is focused on, and we are also a product of where we are. We're at Stanford University, this beautiful place. We are in Silicon Valley. We are a program focusing on innovation and focusing on leadership and helping diverse leaders merge to be leading the industry. We are not so there's other things that we aren't because other people are. So there's great brother programs at the Knight Wallace program at University of Michigan that focuses on special things that they have at that university. That's their focus. There are fellowships that focus on science journalism. So we're different because of where we live, because of who we are, and what we focus on. And that's Stanford, California, Silicon Valley, and emerging diverse leadership.
Yeah. And of course, we also tap into some of the key partnerships from the university.
Yes.
With the business school, the design school, the engineering school. So we really develop a program that is really, bringing these incredible opportunities of learning to our fellows. And so that's also very different.
Yeah, we have a lot of partnerships here at Stanford that just make it more rich experience, as you mentioned. We just started a new partnership with the Institute for Advancing Just Societies. We have had partnerships with Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute, the Design School, the Freeman Spogli Institute for International Studies. So we have a lot of networks in the university that will help fellows.
All right. Has there been any consideration about increasing the number of international fellows in the program?
So every year we change it up a bit, depending on a number of factors. Some of it is funding. Some of it is who we're seeing in the applicant pool and what makes sense for us. So we do have usually a little bit more US than international, and that is really a factor of funding.
How much interaction do fellows have with researchers on campus?
As much as they want. I'm just thinking what you said. So I was meeting today with a fellow. We do one-on-one advising, and I was meeting with one of our fellows who is in a class where he and two other fellows are focusing. The class is about fighting misinformation, disinformation, and the professor and researcher there has had them all over for dinner at his house and is featured them as a speaker in the class today, and they're going to be doing some work together, I think, in that area. So there's professors, there's labs where fellows have connected and found graduate students as well as faculty to connect with. So it's really it's a matter of finding the right people that you'd like to connect with. But people are very open at the Stanford campus to fellows because they come with experience and they are bright, interesting people that they want to connect to.
Now, also, during the fellowship, while you may not actively be working on journalism, we expect you to use your journalism skills and research everything you want to explore. This is not about you coming here and us telling you where to go and what to do and who to meet with. You have to take that initiative, just as we're asking you to read everything about the fellowship. Just as you start thinking about the things you want to explore, you're going to have to make those connections on campus. And when we have that opportunity, we will make that. But for the most part, this is basically an open book here, and we want you to go for it. Having that Stanford email address will allow you to fit a lot faster into the Stanford community, and people are very willing to talk to our fellows all the time.
It's a very entrepreneurial place, and people are used to people coming up and saying, hey, I have an idea I want to talk to you about or want to get to know you better. And so we will certainly help give you the lay of the land of Stanford, and then it's up to you to start exploring after we give you the map.
All right. I am a working journalist who wants to found a media company. Would a project like that be welcome?
Okay, say that again.
I'm a working journalist who wants to found a media company. Would a project like that be welcome?
Yes, and we're not all about founding companies. That's one thing that could happen. What usually we find is the most successful is if you have an idea that you are wanting to shift and start an operation yourself, is that you've done some work to explore that. So going from journalist to founder of a company is a tough jump. And so spending some time making sure you've done the research you need to do, and you come to the fellowship not just having an idea you want to do that, but you've done some groundwork, some research to get to that. So it is possible. Alberto is somebody who talks to a lot of the fellows who are trying to start a new operation. Do you have something you want to add to that?
Well, I would say that starting a media company isn't as appealing as about specific journalism work, which is, again, what we're about. But yes, we walk through the process of what that takes and what it involves. I come from the nonprofit background, so some of those operations are started as nonprofits. So we go through what it takes to, start a board and raise money and kind of really do all the intricate things that involve to start something. At this point, I think with an industry that is so unreliable right now, starting new ventures may be a bigger challenge. So thinking about what are some things that could have places where they can incubate an idea before you even go, full throttle with it. So yeah, it's a yes possibility, right?
Right.
Okay. Do fellows tend to go very different things from? Oh, I guess they want to see maybe talk about some examples of fellows that changed their direction and came out on the other end with something new.
Sure, I have one that comes to mind. Jigger Meda. Hi, Jigger, if you're watching. Jigger was a fellow from the New York Times years ago, and he was came with a video journalist project. His idea was he wanted to create a platform where freelance video journalists could meet up with editors who needed their work. And so it's like, okay, that could be useful. Then his year, in the middle of the year, the Arab Spring happened. And he was transformed. He looked and he saw all these people shooting cell phone videos that had not happened before. And he thought, that's what I want to do now. I am going to do a 180 and change my project. And he created something called 18 Days in Egypt. It's worth looking up. So that's a wholesale change. And he took advantage of what was changing in journalism in the world. So there's an example.
Yeah, we had somebody who came to explore town square approach to public media, who ended up going into AI and how AI can work as it relates to building up archives.
Yeah. There's things, I mean, you're influenced by what's happening in the world. That's important, and what's going on and what you find at Stanford and Silicon Valley, people you meet that might just spur a new thinking for you that you think, actually, that's what I want to explore.
Okay. A question on, do we have a scoring rubric in how we evaluate the application?
That's secret. We have so funny. Well, yes, we have I would maybe take the question a little bit differently. We have a very layered application and selection and reviewing process, because it's really important to us who becomes fellows. So your application is read by real people, first of all. It's not read by AI, no robots involved. Real people, and it's alumni, it's our directors, it's outside reviewers, and many, many eyes are on every application. And so we have various things we're looking at as to what makes a good applicant. And some of them we just talked about. And so we end up reading all the applications where we do need to narrow it. So we narrow it down to a group that we're going to interview. And then those people who are interviewed, then that's another subset on who we decide are going to become finalists and then become fellows.
Yeah, very, very layered and time consuming, but we always end up with an incredible group.
But important, right? I think one of the most important things we do is pick great fellows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every year we were like, how did you come up with this group? We're like, it's an incredible group. What do you expect fellows to do after their fellowship? Do you have a contract or commitment for them on what to do after the fellowship?
A contract. We don't have contracts. We do ask you to sign two things. When you're signing your application, you are signing that you agree to the conditions of being a fellow, which is you're going to be here at Stanford. You can't do your fellowship from Hawaii. That you are going to go to all of our events, that you are going to share your work publicly in ways that we'd ask you to do it, usually maybe a Medium post or something like that. That you will abide by the Stanford Code of Conduct, and we also have our own code of conduct. So that is the contract. After your fellowship, really it's what you make of it, and that we hope you take this year as the beginning of the first year of the rest of your life, to really be transformed and do great things in journalism with our help and your fellows and your own initiative.
I will say that from what I've seen in the last few years, really the confidence of fellows is so contagious. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
But what's happened is that you've changed as a fellow. The people in your work environment haven't. or that setting hasn't. And so it takes a couple of years to kind of calibrate between like what you got out of the fellowship and a place where it actually is going to maximize that experience. So we definitely have had folks who've transitioned out of terrible situations and after the fellowship, like I'm not going back to that. There's no way that I'm going to do that again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so what happens next is really up to you. And where you go is up to you, but we will always be a part of your network in the best possible way.
The other line I like to say, and we've said this before, you and I, Alberto and Pam too, is the fellowship has a long tail. So sometimes people have come out of the fellowship, and it may be that the first job or experience they're doing right after the fellowship is good, but it may be the next job or the next experience that they do is actually kind of really on point to what they were planning to do because it takes some time. But people do get there.
Okay, there's a question about product. Can they work on creating a product here? News product.
Depends, I guess, on what they're thinking. I'd like to know more what that means. So fellows have explored all kinds of things during their fellowship year. Some of them focused on trying an experiment with community engagement or trying, some people have created eventually some kind of a news product, not maybe, building it out during their year. We're not an accelerator. We're not that kind of a fellowship. It's really because it's a really whole person experience. But certainly people have worked on the start of something like that during their fellowship.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't expect you, and nor does it really happen where our fellows leave and they've completed what they intended to. Again, this is year one. Okay, let's see. I started as a reporter, but now have moved into the production. I'm currently working on a personal project on building a newsroom. Do I qualify to apply for the fellowship?
I would have to know more, but I would say yes. A personal project to build a newsroom. I don't, again, I want to know more. That's got me curious. I would make the case. So one of the things in any of these, to answer to any of these questions, is convince us. Make the case on why this is important for us to invest in you being as a fellow at Stanford and doing this work. So just, make a compelling case.
Great. We have two questions on AI and the use of
Okay.
it.
Okay.
In the application, you ask for some examples of your work. Since I don't write in English, is it okay to use AI, Google Translate, to translate that, for example? And can you tell us more about what is an acceptable use of AI in the application?
Okay, so AI is everywhere, right? So we are not going to say you cannot use AI, but we want to know how you use it. And in our application, and you can see it in the application preview, we talk about some uses that would be fine. It would be trying to make sure that your bio really shines and tells the story of you that you want. We do ask on the work samples, if your English is not your first language and the work samples are not in English, that you do get them translated. So that would be fine. What we don't want is for you to just use AI to write your whole application, because you know what, too, we can tell. So we want to hear from you. We don't want you just to parrot back what you see off of our website. We want to hear from you and your thoughts and why you want to do this.
Also, the fellowship is in English. And so there are minimum English skills that you have to have.
Yeah.
And we can tell that sometimes because someone has submitted an application that looks really well written in English, but the selfie video, we can tell that that person is either reading a script or the language, my own English skills, their English skills aren't up to par. And
Yeah.
so something to really keep in mind that if you're not ready and don't have those skills, you need to keep working on that before you apply, because it's going to be a tough challenge to overcome.
Yeah. And the reason really is to make the most of this experience, and both for you as a fellow to take advantage of Stanford and the interactions and the classes and the collaborations. And in the cohort to be able to contribute, you really need to have enough proficiency to be able to participate and contribute. I have seen a couple of cases years ago where people were very frustrated because they were trying to be part of this and take advantage, but they weren't really quite able to communicate well enough. So we also have had people who thought, you know what, I'm going to wait 2 years. I'm going to really work on my English and I'm going to try again. And that has been successful. It's a lot of work, but it does pay off.
Okay, and we have just about a little less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Question, do you evaluate the past experience of the applicant more, or do you value the future potential of the applicant?
Oh, good question. We need to see what you've done to be able to know where you are at this point. And as I sometimes say, have some experience under your belt that you've done some work. But we are wanting to know how you want to take that forward. So it's a mix of both. You need to have at least 5 years experience. And that is really I'd say it's a good thing for you and us because you're going to have some experiences to that you think, wait, I've been in this newsroom. I see this problem. I see this thing I want to fix rather than going right from college. But don't wait too long. Some people think, oh, I'm going to wait till I'm the perfect applicant, and 15 and 20 years go by. And you don't need to have that kind of experience level to apply. You just need to have some good experience under your belt and changes that you've done and work that you've done so you can show us. And then we are looking at potential, certainly for the future.
Okay, for potential applicants who specialize more in the product or audience side, what would be a valid link of resource to submit as an example of our work, considering that most of the work is not published?
Yeah, so we have a spot on our application that asks if you are wanting to present something that's not published work, that's fine. You could put a link to a project, management memo, website that you created, whatever that is, help us understand what kind of work that was. So it does not need to be a published piece of journalism.
Okay, well, we wait for the last couple of questions.
Okay.
Dawn, are there things that just really you surprised that actually applications show, like mistakes or things that people just really like, oh man, and we know that person is a really good journalist. What happened?
Yeah, yes, you're hitting on an issue that's really just frustrating for us, and that is, we're really cheering you on to have a great application, and then if we open the application and you haven't really used all the word count, you've like 2-sentence answers, or you've just kind of dashed off things that you didn't give us good examples to be able to help us see why you want to do this. You don't sell yourself well. I mean, really celebrate your wins. Those are frustrating things. And it's not an application you can do in an hour. It's something that somebody told me once, and I do this with myself, and that is put on your calendar scheduling time with yourself to work on the application so that you aren't just leaving it to the end of the evening when you're tired. So have us, be your best self. Bring your A game to the application.
Yeah, and don't rely on your reputation to get you through the process either, because you could have and be an amazing journalist and have a great reputation for your work, but if your application does not reflect that, it is really hard to get it through all the stages of screening and have it come out of the other end as someone who the fellowship really wants to explore working with. So just make sure that you don't rely on that.
Yeah, help us be really excited about you.
Yeah. And I think you've shared that the US application has a selection committee. And so after the entire process, it is a selection committee that will decide, and they review everything from the application to the scores that are provided, the interview, everything. So it is an extremely well-informed decision that people make, and we provide all that again to make sure that we are clear on what we expect and also the kind of individual that's in front of us.
Right.
All right, we're gonna go back to highlight some of the tips. So again, just as Dawn said, don't procrastinate. We can tell, and it's not a good look. So we want to make sure you do your best and pace yourself and don't run out of time. Know why Stanford and JSK are right for you. And so dig in, be a reporter, go find, everything that the university has to offer and be excited about everything that we have. Be authentic. That is going to show through. And the candidates that do the best are the ones that are always themselves and are also care about something that is really a personal project for themselves. Again, know who we are. Again, that's provided in the website. Talk to alumni. And the last thing is beat the deadline because we do not accept late applications.
Okay, so an important last message. Do not miss this opportunity. Your future self is going to thank you that you applied for this program. And if you're worried about not getting in, if you don't apply, you won't get in. So you do need to apply. Don't count yourself out before giving yourself this chance. And if you apply, and we really hope you do, we're going to be reading your applications. Alberto and I and our team are all excited to see your application. And to follow us on social media, follow the links, read the website. And our inbox is also open if you have questions that you didn't get answered or you have other questions, JSK Fellowships at stanford.edu. Thank you for attending. We look forward to reading your application soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.